Welcome to Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. A world where coming in second place is not an option, but where principle-centered winning is the only approach.
Good morning and welcome to Government Contracting Weekly. I'm Jim McCarthy, the owner and technical director of Key Solutions, and the host of our show. As we are all too aware, the world has become a more dangerous place. And as citizens, we look to our government to protect us. But the government can't do it alone. This morning, you're going to meet two outstanding leaders in the field of physical security. We will begin with a conversation I recently had with Mike Roberts, the president of Global Integrated Security USA. And after Mike, you'll meet Andrew Goldsmith, the vice president of marketing for Rapiscan Systems. Now here's Mike. Good morning. I'm with Mike Roberts, the president of Global Integrated Security, and Mike and I have worked together before, and I like to say that Mike was the architect of a major win with the Department of Homeland Security. I was always impressed with how you handled yourself, the nature of the strategy, and it was a tough fight, but you won it, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So tell us about Global Integrated Security. Tell us about yourself, about the company, and so on, okay?
Absolutely. Global Integrated Security, we are the U.S. Defense and Security arm of Global Strategies Group, which is an international security company. It was formed in 1998, and what we do is we do security and intelligence work in the areas of counterterrorism, counter-narcotics, and critical infrastructure protection. We're the U.S. arm, so we support the U.S. government, and we've been side by side with them in some of the most interesting areas in the world, and I'll say challenging.
And I'm going to want to ask you about that too in a minute. I think that's good.
Absolutely. We've been in some of the most challenging environments in the world, from Liberia to Afghanistan, and we're proud of the service that we've performed and the operations that we perform for our U.S. government. One thing I did want to talk about specifically is you had mentioned it's global integrated security. And a lot of people say, what is integrated security?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? And so I just wanted to delve in that for a minute, if you don't mind.
Please.
You know, a lot of people, all they think is the physical security aspect of a company like Global. And one thing I want to emphasize, and we do emphasize, is security is a spectrum. So we're a full spectrum provider. And so it's not just the physical security aspect, there's a logistics piece to that. There's a life support piece to that. There's an intelligence gathering piece to that. There's a technology piece to that. And then there's also a cultural, a licensing and legal and all other aspects to providing that security in any given country. And so we take security as an integrated approach where we bring all these different pieces together to provide a solution.
Come together, and that's the integration aspect.
That's the integration of the whole thing. Okay. And that's what we do, and we're proud of what we've done.
Okay, so if I were to ask you what market Global Integrated Security is in, I mean, it might seem obvious, but for our viewers, what market do you characterize yourself as being in?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I personally have been in this business a long time. We are a service provider, so you know we do consider ourselves a defense service provider. However, you got to get a little deeper to really understand what we do. We're an international security provider, and I do consider us in that part of the market. And so I want to emphasize the thing that we emphasize here is international. What we do is we don't really do a lot of domestic security. What we do is we go into the countries that the U.S. government goes into, and we provide security solutions. So it's a very specific part of the services market.
It includes intel, is that?
Includes intel, yeah. We have a lot of contracts where we're doing intel.
Okay, so that's the market you're in. So now let's just take a little bit and do a deep dive into the market. And I'd like to ask you, if you could, just talk to us about, quote, the state of the market or the health of the market that you're in. How would you characterize that today? How would that be? I would
characterize as a market in flux, I think, is how I would have to characterize it. Flux is the first word that comes to mind. You know, it's interesting because the world is becoming more dangerous, let's say maybe less dangerous. And what we do is we tend to, in these challenging environments, that's where we thrive. And what we pride ourselves is we can get into these countries and we can get the licensing and we can get the local nationals and we can build a solution. So if you follow out what's happening in the market as a whole, you know, Iraq still got some problems, but it's wound down a lot. Afghanistan, you're going through the drawdown right now, and the government's in the throes of negotiating a status as a forces agreement with them. And so that's kind of a little bit murky. But what's interesting is there's a lot of other opportunities that are opening up. You have problems in the Levant area. Africa is always a challenge. So on the whole, I would characterize it as a market where you have to have very specific, specialized skills to be a competitor. But ultimately, I think it's a market that's actually a lot of demand going forward and a lot of opportunities if you're an enterprising company.
So I want to ask you about the drawdown. I mean, on the surface, it might say, well, the troops are drawing down in Afghanistan currently. They're pulling out, or they pulled out of Iraq and all that, and that might be a detriment to a business such as yours. But on the other hand, it might present an opportunity. What's your thought on that?
I think that was a good comment.
Yeah. Well, and why does it present an opportunity?
Because it's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, they are drawn down in Afghanistan, and we have a couple very large contracts in Afghanistan that are being impacted. However, the extent of the drawdown is still up in the air, so that's a little bit murky. But what's interesting is as the government draws out, there's a lot of very important projects that are going on in Afghanistan, and I don't anticipate, and I don't know, I couldn't speak, I only know what my company sees, but it actually brings more opportunity in the area for a company like ours because we have all the licenses and have all the in-country knowledge, and as the government draws down, private industry and others who are still involved in these important projects, they require more support in the areas of intelligence, training, and all logistics, life support, and all the areas that my company supports.
So it is both a drawdown, but it is a business opportunity in the sense that there is still important work that's going to go on, and somebody has to support it, and that's what you do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the drawdown. Let's ask about the proverbial question that we've always been talking about for the last 6 months: sequestration, budget cuts, you know, the gridlock and the shutdown and all that. How has that impacted A, your market, and B, your company?
You know, it's interesting. If you look at it in the short term, all of the work we perform is critical. So the shutdown and sequestration at this point in time has not impacted any of our ongoing work. And I don't anticipate it affecting any of our current contracts.
So you're exempt from sequestration in that
I wouldn't
sense?
say exempt. What I would say is we provide critical infrastructure protection services that the government would choose not to fund.
It's high on the priority list.
It's high on the priority list.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. I was trying to think of the right word.
But I was thinking about the future of that. If let's say budgets are tighter over in the future, and then there's another round of sequestration next year, who knows? But what's the United States government going to do with its basic critical infrastructure if it isn't the budget to keep it up? Isn't it over time that's going to erode and cause problems with respect to the the infrastructure in this country? Is that an issue that you've been dealing with?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think any company that supports the U.S. government has to deal with that issue, and we're no different. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was saying that none of our current projects had been impacted, but what I am seeing is, just like every other contractor, a lot of procurements are being pushed to the right, a little bit more confusion about how much they're going to be funded and everything else. And in the long term, I actually think, just like any other part of the industry, I think the government's going to have to make some tough decisions on what they're actually going to pursue and what they're not going to pursue. Yeah. However, I think that's why if you're a technology-enabled service provider, what you have to do is you have to understand your government's restraints, and then you have to provide solutions that are tailored to meet the needs that they're going to have going forward. So I think the industry is going to a more nuanced, simpler, more technology-enhanced model so that they can help the government save money going forward. Right. And in that area, I think as long as you're one of the cutting-edge companies, I still see lots of opportunities.
Lots of opportunities. And as you said earlier, the world ain't getting any safer.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Absolutely.
Federal acquisition and program offices are working every day to defend and secure the United States. Hello, I'm Brian Null, President of Bluewater Federal Solutions. We are a growing small business possessing the experience and capabilities found in the largest federal contractors. Since 2005, we've earned a significant number of contracts and task orders across DoD, DHS, and civilian agencies, with major contracts including DHS Eagle, Eagle II, and GSA Alliance Small Business. Our success is achieved through the high-performance teams that are providing disciplined service delivery on complex technical solutions, meeting cost and schedule with exceptional customer feedback and official CFAR ratings. To learn how we can deliver exceptional results on your mission requirements, go to bluewaterfederal.com and click on Contact Us. Bluewater Federal, solutions, integrity, results.
The Veteran Institute for Procurement, or VIP for short, was established in 2009 to arm our vets to win in the federal marketplace. VIP is a 27-hour, 3-day comprehensive educational program for owners, principals, C-level executives of veteran-owned businesses. And it's working. A survey of 143 VIP graduates reported that they added nearly 1,000 jobs since graduating from the program, and on average have increased their revenue 45% within the first year of graduation. 348 veteran-owned businesses nationwide have graduated from the program, which is funded entirely by the Montgomery County Chamber Community Foundation, and the program is offered at no cost to participants. To learn more, please visit our website at nationalvip.org.
Perhaps you can tell, Mike, but I'm fascinated by your business. I think it's very intriguing, but it's also very important to our national security. So given what you do around the world, could you maybe share with the audience, to the extent that you can, I understand there's maybe some restrictions, but share with the audience what do you think was the most challenging or interesting engagement that your company has taken on so far? Could you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've had thousands of engagements since we've been in business in 1998. It's hard to kind of narrow it down. A couple jump to mind. But if you ask me, and currently we're in a contract in Afghanistan where we provide all the transportation and movements in country for a large U.S. government agency. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me to really narrow it down, I come down to two, as we were actually responsible for the currency exchanges in Iraq. And that was one, but if I'm going to have to narrow it down, I'm going to narrow it down. We were actually responsible. We were the contractor that won the Afghan elections contract. And we actually deployed to the 34 provinces where the elections were being held. We did the intelligence analysis on the ground. We decided where the elections should take place. We actually set up the balloting. We actually provided the security. And remember, this is in a time, this is just post-Taliban time when that country was very dangerous. Right. And we had to get into these different provinces. And, people always think the initial aspect is the security and the danger in that, but it's really not. It's the cultural. You actually had to get into these provinces. You had to find out who were the people that were making the decisions, and then you had to set up and actually work with them and make them feel comfortable that you were actually reputable enough to provide these elections and provide security and make sure they're.
It sounds like an enormous challenge.
It was amazing.
It's
one of
very complicated.
Amazing one.
So let me throw you a sort of a thought here, which is, if our regular viewers know that we generally have a segment called Keys to Winning, because that's what this show's about, that's what my company's about. So in your marketplace, what do you think is the key or a couple keys to winning, to be successful? What is required? Mm-hmm.
I think, it's going to sound funny. My answer might sound a little funny, but it's true. I think integrity, compliance, and ethics is probably the number one thing that's going to determine whether you're successful in this business. Because if you think about it, what we're doing is it's very dangerous work, and you have to have an excellent reputation, and you have to have a great past performance track record. And there's people who are putting their trust in you to protect their most critical assets. Right. And so I think if you don't have a high degree of ethics, a high degree of compliance with country requirements, and have a well-trained staff that understands those requirements and what they are, I don't think you'll be successful because it's all based off of reputation and do they believe that you can get the job done successfully with minimal amount of damage.
Okay, so one final question before we leave. One final challenge to you is, if you could leave for our audience one takeaway, one thing that they should get out of this interview, this discussion, one thing that they ought to take home with themselves, if you will, what would that be? What's the takeaway?
You know, most people, when they think of security and they think of security in these challenging environments that we're in, they always think of the physical security aspect of it. What they don't realize is that there's a lot more to just the physical security aspect to this. There's intelligence gathering, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, there's life support issues, there's logistics issues, there's technology issues, which type of technology you're going to use. There's all these other decisions, there's training, there's finding the right people, there's logistics issues, there's licensing issues. There's all sorts of issues involved in the physical aspect of security. I think most people assume that that's all you're doing is bringing people, put them in country and protecting.
But in fact, it's almost like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much stuff going on underneath.
I'd almost call it the smallest part of it. The life support, the logistics, the licensing, all the other aspects to it. It's a very complicated business, and there's a full spectrum of things that need to get done to ensure that a facility is secure.
Well, thank you. We really enjoyed your discussion, and it's my hat goes off to the men and women who serve in those kind of dangerous positions and dangerous locations. So we've talked today with Mike Roberts, the president of Global Integrated Security, and we thank you for watching.
So, did we win that government contract?
We did.
And?
And now we've got to deal with the regulatory hurdles.
Well, good luck with that.
When the government's your client, you need to play by their rules.
Ah, and the rules change more than you think.
Exactly. We need someone who's done this before. Plus, it's complicated, so we're going with BDO.
BDO?
People who know government contracting know BDO.
At Key Solutions, we've been working for 30 years to help government contractors win and retain $130 billion in government contracts. We understand that coming in second place is not an option, and that principle-centered winning is the only way forward. That's how we have worked with 87 of the top 100 government contractors and literally hundreds of small businesses. It takes a fresh set of eyes to honestly see the weaknesses and sometimes even the outright holes in a proposal. One of my proudest recollections was a time we were hired by a client that had lost their last 5 opportunities in a row. But with our help in analyzing and addressing their shortcomings, I'm happy to say that they then won their next 7 bids. I'm Jim McCarthy, the owner of Key Solutions, and we want to help you win or retain your next contract. Contact us at AOC Key Solutions and click on Win. My guest is Andrew Goldsmith, the Vice President of Global Marketing for Rapiscan Systems. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
We're really glad you're here. I know that your company is most known for providing scanners for TSA, but it's more than that. It's a whole lot more than that. I noticed that just doing a little bit of research that your company has provided security for, I think, 9 different Olympiads and 1 or 2 different World Cups and so on. So you do a lot of different works. Tell us about your company.
Sure, and really delighted to be here and talk about Rapiscan Systems. So Rapiscan Systems has been a leader in security screening solutions since the early 1990s. As you mentioned, we provide security screening solutions for major events like the Olympics. But what a lot of people also don't know is we are a major provider to the U.S. Department of Defense, to our troops operating overseas, for force protection, for military base protection. We also do a lot of work with customs and border protection agencies around the world, helping to inspect cargo that's coming into countries, whether it's on rail cars or trucks or seaborne cargo. And then we do a lot of work, as you mentioned, in aviation security. That's probably what we're best known for, although it's by no means all the work that we do.
All right, so you're a multifaceted company. Well, what about your background, Andrew? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Chicago. I'm a big White Sox fan, and got my MBA at the University of Chicago, and then came out to the Washington, D.C. area to work for a major consulting firm, and worked with a number of companies in the area of strategic marketing, and have worked really in strategic marketing for the last 10 or 15 years. The last 6 years I've been the head of global marketing for Rapiscan Systems, and I have to say it's been a terrific place to work, a terrific career for me, and very exciting to be part of the team there.
I commend you for your background. Let's start out with a really it's a direct question, but it's an important question for us, which is, from your perspective, are we safe or not as a nation? What do you think?
Sure, it's a great question, and I think there are a couple ways of answering it. I think overall, look at the big picture and day to day, we are very safe. Certainly compared to other parts of the world and other countries. I mean, we're very fortunate to be here in the United States, and think about day-to-day flying on airplanes or taking public transit, going to shopping malls or whatever. People don't worry a great deal about the threat of major security incidents, not that they don't occur. And I think the reason for that is thanks to the great work of local law enforcement and all levels of society, and especially government, our military service, et cetera, that really work very hard to keep us safe. So we're definitely not free of risk, and there are things we should be worried about, but overall I'd say we're very safe.
Very safe. And unfortunately the world is becoming less safe, I think, day by day. So companies like yours are very important, I think, in the whole scheme of things. Thank you.
Sure.
In this hyper-competitive marketplace, as a federal government contractor, now more than ever, you need to identify, track, forecast, and analyze opportunities that will help you grow your company by better positioning yourself to win contracts. I'm Jamie Bratton, the founder of Easy GovOps, and that's our mission. Utilizing the most intuitive market intelligence platform, Easy GovOps, enables contractors of all sizes to manage their pipeline, collaborate, and team like never before. Experience for yourself the power available to you and your team with a 5-day free trial period with no commitment necessary to begin. Simply visit easygovops.com to start your free trial today. Join the hundreds of other federal government contractors who are enjoying the ultimate competitive advantage of our unequaled market intelligence. Just spend one free week at easygovops.com and see for yourself.
We at JRC Integrated Systems are proud of our legacy of providing systems engineering expertise to the strategic deterrence community. For more than 10 years, JRC has helped Navy strategic systems programs manage the Ohio and Ohio replacement programs. From defining requirements to developing verification plans to building and implementing the program plans to bring a major weapon system to shore-based test environment, we at JRC have become trusted advisors to ACAT-1 programs. In addition to Navy SSP, JRC Integrated Systems has begun providing similar expertise to other related programs in the Missile Defense Agency and other weapon system programs. If you need highly skilled support to help you solve your engineering and programmatic challenges, then we at JRC Integrated Systems invite you to contact us at info@jrcisi.com.
Okay, Andrew, our company, AOC Key Solutions, is all about winning government contracts. So one of the regular parts of our show is that we always ask our guests, what are the keys to winning? In other words, what are the keys to being successful? Or what are the critical success factors that are present in your marketplace? So for Rapiscan Systems, what would you say is the key to winning in that context?
Right. I think it's a great question. I think one of the things that we think really differentiates Rapiscan Systems from other providers is that while we're very committed to providing the best possible security screening solutions, threat detection technologies, we never lose sight of the fact that our customers, our government customers in particular, have a larger mission usually, whether it's protecting troops or forces or running an overall security checkpoint. So we always try to incorporate things that are not only going to meet the security requirements of our customers, but also will get passengers through a checkpoint more quickly, or, for example, if you're manning a checkpoint, how do you ensure that the troops who are manning that checkpoint are safe and secure from any threats? How to make sure that the systems we're designing are easy to use and operate so that they can be used effectively. And I think it's that combination of not only looking at how do we detect the threats, but how do we make sure that you can use our technology effectively for your organization's mission.
Very good. So a related question would be this. If you could leave our audience with one takeaway that they should come away with from this interview, what do you think that might be?
Well, I would say to certainly any government agency type customer, we are absolutely committed to listening to your requirements and really starting with that as the basis for what we do. We want to build solutions that meet your needs. We're not going to try and force fit you into a particular approach when it comes to security.
And from the contracting community, what would be the one takeaway for them? In other words, the contractors themselves.
The contractors that we are excellent at really meeting your requirements in terms of compliance of contracts and then program delivery from start to finish, that we will make it a seamless, painless experience in terms of supporting your program needs.
Okay. Is teaming something that's in your toolbox, if you will?
Yes, we've been very successful with teaming both as a prime and as a subcontractor, and we're actively and always looking for excellent teaming partners.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Now let's recap 2 takeaways in the keys to winning. From Mike Roberts of Global Integrated Security, it's integrity, compliance, and ethics. Andrew Goldsmith of Rapiscan Systems added the importance of building to fit the customer's needs, not your needs. Our thanks go out to Mike Roberts and Andrew Goldsmith, and our thanks especially goes out to you, our viewers, for making Government Contracting Weekly a regular part of your learning regimen. Now, on behalf of all my colleagues at Key Solutions, I'm Jim McCarthy. See you next week.
You've been watching Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored each week by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. For additional information, comments, questions, or suggestions, please write us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.